Right, this is going over my 94 Suburban. Some changes I've made to it in the month that I've owned it and some future plans for it. It's definitely not a parking lot princess. I'll finish this video off with some clips from a recent trip that I made. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so if I recommend something, it's because I paid my own money for it and I'm happy with it. First thing I want to point out is the paint on this. Okay, this is the original teal blue metallic 94. And the reason I want to point out that paint, it's early in the morning, so it's still got a lot of dew on it, but the reason I want to point this out, okay, I just got back from a 550-mile road trip through the snow, through the salt, dirt roads, backcountry stuff, and came back, immediately went through the local car wash, and this whole thing was spotless. I always go through the car wash as soon as I get back because of the salt and stuff on the roads, and I don't want that to eat up anything on the vehicle. So normally if I come back from the snow, I as soon as I get into town, I go through the local car wash. It's got an undercarriage spray on it, and that keeps me in decent shape. So on this paint I had used, based off the Project Farm video, I'd used that Turtle Wax, I think it's Hybrid Solution Ceramic. I applied it the way that they said to apply it. I did a full application, and then I waited 24 hours and I did a second application, and that's supposed to be good for 12 months of protection. I put new headlights because at least out here in California, all these things, plastic turns yellow and they're worthless. So when I got this, I changed the whole headlights and everything and put LEDs in there. The other thing I did was I took off the all-terrain tires and I put on these mud terrains. Now these are just a cheapie. They're Track Grip Thunder MTs, but they've got great reviews on Amazon, and they're quiet. Even though it looks like an aggressive mud terrain, I run this thing at 70 miles an hour down the highway. I don't get any road noise off of them. You can read your own reviews, but this is a set of 10-ply E-rated tires, and I got all 4 of them for $650 to my door. So in today's pricing, that's pretty reasonable. These things work great in the snow. I had no traction problems going up hills in the mud and the snow. They did great. They bit and they did their job, and I'm very happy with them. Before I left the other day, I've only owned this thing about a month. I put on this winch, I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So I finally hooked up the control box before I left. I'd like to zip tie this along the grill, make it a little bit nicer, but this was literally the morning that I left, I hooked this up. This is plastic here on these, and so you can see I drilled through. That keeps my wires separated. They're not going to ground out on anything. Then they go through here and they've got the boots on them. So I'm happy with the winch. It's both got the traditional control and then it's got a wireless, and I ran through everything the morning that I left. Everything worked great. Luckily I didn't have to use the winch. But one of the things I did hook up before I left, let's see if I can show you. Okay, so that's the posi lock cable. And what that is that's a mechanical control for the four-wheel drive. These GMs, they're shit. They put in a thermal switch to actuate the four-wheel drive. And as soon as you get into the snow or you cross water or anything and it gets cool enough, the four-wheel drive quits working. That's exactly where I was headed, was into some snow. The temps were in the low 20s, high teens, and I had no faith in that GM switch. So I put in the posi lock cable, same thing I used on my Ram Charger. I've been really happy with it, worked great. So and I went through the tranny course. I think I explained that in another video, but I gotta say I'm really happy with the tires. I'm really happy with the way it performed, the 6.5 turbo diesel. The trip was a great success. It was 550 miles in about 30 hours. Included a lot of hills, a lot of snow, a lot of dirt country, you know, dirt back roads and whatnot. Suburban did great. I slept in it that night, and you know, made breakfast and whatnot in the morning. I got my camp stove, my other stuff, but not that you guys should care about that. So the future upgrades, what I'm going to work on is I'm going to change out the factory fuel filter, and I'm going to go with this aftermarket remote mount head and a genuine cat filter. Now it's got inlets and outlets, and when I'd ordered it, I'd ordered this fuel gauge to show my constant pressure, which is really important on these 6.5 turbo diesels. So I ordered a gauge, and then I got to thinking about it, and I haven't got it yet, but I actually went back and ordered a second. I'm going to run a gauge on the inlet and the outlet, as well as I got ports for my supply lines, but I'm going to run a gauge on the inlet and the outlet, and that will show me the differential pressure through my filter and let me know when it's time to change my filter. The other setup I'm going with is I'm going to get rid of the GM8 turbo, which has a very restrictive exhaust housing. I'm going to go to this HX35 style turbo, and then there's an adapter, and that adapter hooks up to my factory 6.5 exhaust pipe. It adapts the HX35 to the factory 6.5 exhaust. So from there, these are non-intercooled, and I'm going to intercool it. Here's my setup. I'm going to come straight across with this intercooler tube. I'm going to go into this air to water, and then I'm going to do a 90 through this high flow intake. This is all eBay stuff. It's all cheap stuff. I didn't spend any real money on it. So up front, one of the changes I'm going to make up front is I'm going to get rid of that factory skid plate, because as you can see, I covered it with the plate that I made for my winch. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to adapt a different skid plate. And then behind the plate, what I'll do is I'll cut several holes in the plate. And then behind the plate is where I'm going to run this heat exchanger for the air to water intercooler. And that'll give me an intercooled setup. Probably looking to run about 12 to 14 pounds of boost. Right now on this factory GM turbo with a 4-inch straight pipe, it runs really well at about 12 pounds of boost. So I'm looking to set up this HX35. I'm not after power, you know, I'm not trying to make 400 horse, which is pretty ridiculous on these. I know guys make 500, a guy made 500, but that's not what I'm after. I want reliability, but at the same time, I do want to add some power through the mountains, and I'm going to do quite a bit of towing with it. So 14, 15 pounds of intercooled boost should meet my goals of what I'm after on this thing. I don't know what else I want to tell you about it off the top of my head, but just really happy with it. It was a great trip. I'll go ahead and I'll attach those clips to this video. And I had been through the tranny when I got it. That was one of the first things I did, was I did the billet accumulator delete plate, and good quality fluid filter, pan gasket, the Lucas trans stop slip. Now I had no issues with this thing slipping. I put that in as a preventive measure, along with a good quality fluid and filter and whatnot. And very happy with it. The thing worked great. You know, this has got 220,000 miles on it when I got it, and it's been great. So hopefully, if I can get another 60 or 80,000 miles before I have any tranny issues, then I'll be extremely happy, and I'll rebuild the 4L80 when that time comes and move on. So anyhow, just a little update of where I'm at with it, and the fact that it actually gets used. I'm not just throwing on mud tires and winches so I look cool in a parking lot somewhere, but actually went out and put this thing through its paces the way it was designed to be.